Okay, so this is seasoned again with Progression, top US guild. Um, Now we're going to talk about the Paladin rune engravings up to level 25. There's limited information to talk about, but I want to give people a different perspective on how I'm thinking about how Prot Paladin utility could be used in raids, and especially creating strategies. For example, let's just go right into it. So let's look at the chest room. So we have Divine Storm. Obviously, it's a Ret Paladin ability, and it's a instant attack that causes, you know what's up, you know how it does. It's pretty much the same as it's always been. It's just dumbed down for classic. And then we've got something called Horde of Lodaron, or whatever you say. The Paladin blows a horn, which increases your total strength and agility of all party members within 30 yards. Now, does that mean party or raid? I think it's just party. It's a buff for 2 minutes, so definitely you want to be in a melee group. Can you imagine being in a druid group and this guy's group, and all the pumper warriors and rogues are gonna want to be in this group right here? This is the group right here, creme de la creme. But you're gonna need a Prot Paladin, and it's not because of this horn. This buff, I guarantee, will scale when you get to level 60. These numbers are for level 25, obviously, so I think it'll scale a lot higher, and it'll be really good. Okay, let's go down to Aegis. Increases your block value by 30%, and damaging melee and range attacks against you have a 10% chance to increase your chance to block by 30%. Last 10 seconds or 5 blocks. Effect not cumulative with redoubt. Okay, so really cool ability, and it's it's a really good ability because Horn is cool and everything, but it's not incredibly necessary for a lot of fights that last longer. Or that are shorter than 2 minutes. Because fights that are 30 seconds long, you don't need a buff like this. Aegis is actually very good because your block value, it helps with threat, and that's very important for Prot Paladins. And when you 10% chance to block, when you're going to be blocking a lot, if you have 30% chance, you're going to be able to trigger the effect often when you need it. But the big thing, and why Prot Paladins are going to be so important, is because of Divine Sacrifice. And the reason why Prot Paladins are going to be needed for Divine Sacrifice is because, honestly, from what I'm seeing, this beacon right here is great for Holy Paladins because now they're a Tremor Totem, so they just stay around everybody and they're a Tremor Totem, which is very good. And then you got Avenger Shield, which is great for Prot Paladins, but is unnecessary. It's only if you're tanking a lot of mobs, and a lot of these won't be but a single target fight. So a Divine Sac on a boss that hits the raid, like with a lot of raid damage. For example, let's look at Kel'Thuzad. He has a mind control. When the mind control happens, usually a lot of damage starts to go out. So the mind control happens, boom. I'm calling DSAC. I'm reducing the damage on the raid. I'm having Paladins bubble and pump heals into the people that are taking damage. You can use defensive abilities offensively to help push your raid forward during hard mechanics that you want to test out. You can use DSAC, or back in the day we would use Bloodlust in the beginning of fights to get further in the fight, so we could create a strategy to learn to get past those mechanics that we weren't able to get past. So Avenger Shield is great and everything, but unnecessary for fights that are single target. Then you got the Inspiration Exemplar, very good for pretty much any Paladin that's not going to use Exorcist, which is cool. So DSAC, and it's pretty much the best thing that has come to Prot Paladins besides Taunt. And it's because it's a raid cooldown, and it's very good for raid leaders to have this in your arsenal. And I encourage mostly all of your Paladins, Ret, Holy, and Prot, to be running Divine Sac. You could literally change how you do boss mechanics because you could pop them specifically for one person. For example, a tank is going to get hit hard and he doesn't have a cooldown. DSAC. That is literally a blessing of sacrifice on one person, but also everybody. So even if it only works for one person, it's worth it. So something to think about. Okay, let's move down to the glove runes. So Beacon of Light is just really great for Holy Paladins, and the usage for it. I think Holy Paladins are gonna be really good in Discovery. So Crusader Strike, great ability. Obviously Ret Paladins, and you get Hand of Reckoning. This thing is really great because it's going to change the way you play Prot Paladin. You can now have a taunt, and you have really good threat. So if you have Hand of Reckoning, and then you run something like D-Sack, which is utility, which is important, Avenger Shield is great, but it's really only good for trash and those fights where you're tanking a lot of stuff, but really it's unnecessary because you have Righteous Fury, and you're going to get a Holy Shield effect, and you're going to get lots of mana and consecration. Avenger Shield might be one of those things that you think is great, but it's actually not that great, and it actually is not. So Divine Sack, definitely 10 times better than Avenger Shield, but we're going to have to see the boss mechanics first. Then Aegis, really great. You can't beat that in anything. So then the Seal of Martyrdom. Last thing I wanted to touch up on. And by the way, there is no script for this. I'm literally reading this in front of you and telling you my open ideas. So something to think about. Seal of Martyrdom fills you with Holy Spirit for 30 seconds, causing each of your melee attacks to deal 30% weapon damage up to 3 nearby targets. So it seems like this is like a cleave effect when you're attacking one mob. And but you lose health equal 10% of the damage inflicted. So you're going to be doing a lot of damage, but you're going to be taking a lot of damage. And I think that it's worth it because this is going to make you incredibly overpowered, but it punishes you for doing a lot of cleave damage. I think they're going to make Ret Paladin very overpowered, but there's going to be a high skill cap. And I think similar to the way Brewmaster Monks were with and how rogues will be in this expansion, rogues are now like Brewmaster Monks in the sense that you have to keep up your 5 combo 10% parry ability. I forgot what it was called, like Blade Dance. So we'll go over rogue tanks as well. But I think Prot Paladins are going to be very successful. I think that every guild is going to need them, and I think they're going to be a really good impact for Classic and how abilities from bosses can be made. I'm excited that the bosses' abilities will change because now we have classes that have abilities that need different boss mechanics to be used better. So, for example, if we had an automatic submerge phase for Ragnaros, you could have a Prot Paladin kite those mobs, put a consecration down, put a frost trap down, put everything in a little clump. The Prot Paladin can kite those mobs, the submerged mobs, through the consecration, which Righteous Fury, Avenger Shield, everything, and mages from afar can just be blizzarding them down. In Season of Mastery, we had to kite them and AoE taunt and run, but now we have a Prot Paladin. So it's really great. I'm curious if they're going to have like an AoE taunt or something like that, because in Wrath they have like an AoE taunt that you can kind of use on three mobs at the same time. So pretty interesting, and I'm curious about what's going to happen with Prot Paladins. We're going to definitely see, and I'm going to be testing every single tank class to see which the most viable is. So anyways, check you on the next one, and again, no script, right off the dome.